recorded. Can I start now? Okay, awesome. See the little red dot. So hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming to this session. And me and Mrs. LongBenton are really honored to have this opportunity to introduce our program to you all. So is the slides ready to go or?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, Dr. Shah, can you start us out?
Yeah, so this is a little bit about me. I was a teacher actually before I started my graduate program at in the field of instructional technology. So it was during my teaching years when I kind of saw the increasing use of technology in teaching and learning. So I went right into the doctoral program at Penn State. I actually first had a instructional technology master, and then that prepared me for my doctoral program at Penn State. And last year, I joined IDT at ESU.
Okay. Well, great to have you on board for sure as our director. So we appreciate that. My name is Akina LongBenton. I have an ed specialist in educational technology. I also have a certificate in media and technology. My first certificate ed specialist is from Wayne State University in Detroit. And my certificate in media and technology for education is from Harvard University. I have been a lifelong educator. So I started at the young age of 20 as a substitute middle school teacher. Did that for 5 years, left there and started teaching at the collegiate level at the young age of 25. So I had 52-year-olds in my classroom calling me Mrs. LongBenton. Well, I was Ms. Long at the time. I wasn't married yet. So I was very uncomfortable, but that was something internal that I had to deal with on my own. But I have always been in education. Love the fact that we're transitioning into the School of Library Information Management. So that will be great for us to be able to delve into, because IDT can take us through so many different disciplines, not just education. So if you look at this outline, it's just simply what we're going to take care of for today. We'll talk specifically about IDT. We'll talk about IDT as it is on ESU's campus, and then talk about some key issues that relates to fundamental knowledge and skills, which deals a lot with theory. Don't be afraid of that word. Theory is not a bad word, guys. And then we'll talk about accessibility, and a very trending topic right now is AI and how that is impacting education. We'll have some student work that we would like to show, and then we will actually look at just chatting with you to give you some ideas, some different prompts that we'll share with you, and we'll get a chance to have it more interactive and give you guys a chance to chat. Okay, so if you look at IDT, I won't read this entire screen, but it is definitely interdisciplinary, as I had mentioned before. So we mainly deal with education, but we're also in military, we're also in healthcare, and we're also in corporate. So you can take your IDT degree and really span the gamut of different career opportunities that will be there for you. And at the bottom of your screen, you'll see all of the different names that are related to IDT. So they may be called Learning Design and Technology at one university, Instructional Systems Design at another one, Learning Engineering, Learning Experience Design, and then the list goes on and on, but it's really the same discipline. And then here are some of the titles that you could wear once you have your IDT, your master's in instructional design. So someone may call you a learning designer, or someone may call you an instructional designer, or even an instructional coach. You may be an e-learning designer. And then the list, as I said, goes on and on of the various titles, but all of this stems from IDT, instructional design and technology. And if you look at IDT, for the master's program, you'll have a non-thesis track and you'll have a thesis track. Most of our students do the non-thesis track, where they actually develop a project over their last semester. So this is considered their capstone course. So they're actually working with an external client, and they actually build out a project for a full semester. So a lot of it starts end of September going into the first part of December, but you have a full solid, 8 to 10 weeks where you're actually working with that client. The front part of the course is actually the upload. So deciding who your client is going to be, the types of things that will be involved in your project. And then we culminate that with an actual ceremony, if you will, where we actually, bring you on campus, have you showcase what you have done, and then we wrap it up with your commencement later on that particular evening. But it's a great opportunity for you to look at ending it with a capstone course if you opt not to do the thesis track. Dr. Shah, would you like to share anything about the thesis track?
We currently have one student on the thesis track, and this is really to prepare students who are strongly interested in pursuing a doctoral degree. And I was actually going to bring that student up later when I'll talk a little bit about AI, because she is, like her thesis research is around social robotics and how she's now incorporating ChatGPT into her robotic programming, and then her contact is really educating patients. So it's in a healthcare context. So it is a research study, and she's writing for her IRB and everything. So that's a little bit different from non-thesis, which is very application focused. For the last cohort that I worked with, the non-thesis track students, I would say 8 out of 9 products are right now being used by their client in the actual context. So it's very 2 different track, but the thesis track would be for more research focus for the final thesis.
Absolutely. So that non-thesis more practical. So it's definitely hands-on, a hands-on opportunity to be able to connect with what you've learned throughout your entire program, and then connecting it to an actual client. Okay, so if we look at this, you'll see that it's as I mentioned before, interdisciplinary approach. Is definitely hands-on learning, especially with that last course, but throughout the time in which you're going to be here is definitely hands-on as well. You're definitely going to integrate technology, but we don't want students to just look at this as a technology degree with all the bells and whistles, what's trending and what's not. We want them to have that fundamental, that foundational skill base to know why we are using certain technologies, and not falling into the trap of I'm using it because it's trending, or because my boss told me to, or my colleague next door, they're using this fun tool, I got to use it too. We want to make sure that you're integrating the technology seamlessly into an existing curriculum, or if you're building out a curriculum, what are some different technology tools that fit and or make sense, okay? And then definitely networking opportunities. You'll get a chance to connect with your colleagues throughout the program, but then also looking at that client that you work with at the end, or with your committee if you're doing the thesis track. But all of those are opportunities to be able to, build out different people that you'll meet along the way, and that you will remain in touch with. Just thinking back to my program, being in school, I still remain in touch with people that I met decades ago, but just having that networking opportunity throughout your educational journey here. Okay.
Yeah, so actually before I kind of take over to the next section, can we go back to slide 7, I believe, slide 8, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I skipped over that. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Sorry about that. So yes, slide 8 deals with the different certificates that we have. So not just, if you decide not to do a master's degree, for example, you can actually do a certificate in teaching with technology, or you can do an e-learning. We couple that with online teaching certificate. So there are different opportunities, not just for the master's track, but we do have 2 certificate programs. They're 12 credits, so there are 4 courses as opposed to the 11 courses that are in the master's track. So it's definitely a shorter program, but it's also a rich program because you get a chance to be able to go in and, you know, kind of hit the ground running using the different tools and tips that we're sharing in those courses. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Shah.
And there's one thing that, yes, in addition to the master program and also the certificates,
Yes.
I want to add that there is an existing concentration on IDT in the doctoral program at SLIM, yes, which is really a good synthesis of the 2 fields. And also we are actively working on or thinking about adding a concentration of IDT for the MLS degree too at the master level. So
absolutely. Yes, great. So you have a variety in which you can choose from. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. So thank you again for this great overview of our program in LongBenton. And if you have questions, please take note. You will have time towards the end to ask questions and we can chat more. But for now, I'd like to kind of talk more about how we support our students to be lifelong learners with the ability to keep updated with their knowledge and skills to meet future needs. So I will first describe some of the foundational knowledge and skills, and including theories, research, ID framework, design principles, design skills, and then briefly talk about 2 recent hot topics, accessibility and AI, and how they are integrated in our program. So next, move on to the foundational knowledge and skills. Prospective students will learn about learning theories, and I agree, it's not a scary word. When you do your job as ID, like what is your daily work look like? You got to kind of design instructional materials. Probably will be asked to assess and evaluate others' deliverables. And then when doing that, we want to make sure that you are equipped with various learning theories and apply those when you do create, develop, and evaluate instructional products to find the best solution to the instructional problems. So you'll learn about cognitivist theories, constructivism, social cultural theories, experiential learning theories, and so much more. And more importantly, to apply those theories to inform the design. So one example is that currently I'm actually teaching this learning theories course, and my students want to write research papers that they dread writing and will never revisit. They're actually now learning to apply what they are learning and the learning theories to design, let's say, an instructional unit, a lesson, an instructional project. So it's a direct application of the learning theories. And the same goes with research. I understand research, like the word itself, can be daunting, especially for those who probably have kind of 0 experience with research. But as a professional in the field of education, we believe you need to be equipped with research skills so that you can better problem solve, and you can also keep updated with evidence-based best practices. In this larger context of misinformation and disinformation too. So one example is like thinking about yourself reading articles on practices that they say it's based on research findings. Then with a basic understanding of research and research methodologies, you will have an informed reading of the research findings, and as well as a more in-depth understanding of their limitations as well. So design frameworks. So this is just some of the popular design frameworks: ADDIE, SAM, rapid prototyping, backward design, and you're encouraged to actually mix uses of them. You can choose to stick to one, but it's really, the critical part is to make the best decision of what and how to apply one framework or more frameworks into a specific instructional design problem. And design principles, we are referring to the overall instructional design principles, and that's from Ganey, and then Mayer's principles of multimedia learning, which focus on the multimedia learning content creation, including visuals, audios, like videos, and online course. If you are interested in using emerging technologies, the design skills part is where we address that. So you will learn to use various tools to produce instructional materials, like I mentioned, videos and online courses. So you will use Adobe tools, Articulate Rise, Articulate 360, Canvas, Storyline, Canva, like the list goes on. Like I have a giant Excel file just to document all the categories and their tools and how they can be used to create instructional materials. And overall, this is not a complete list. These bullet points are just some of the essential hard skills, and many instructional design professionals have shared with me that other essential competencies include communication, be flexible, collaborative, project management, and so on. So besides these foundational knowledge and skills, our program also keeps up with the evolving field and incorporate current trends and future visions. The key two key topics here is on accessibility and AI. And I'd like to talk about how we support our students to develop knowledge, skills, and vision regarding accessibility and AI. So the first one is accessibility and the why. So given the differences in individual learner, there are various types of barriers to learning. And accessibility is really critical so that each learner is supported to achieve their learning goals. So we have regulations on the web content, but they are just like the minimum requirements. As instructional design professionals, we need to go above and beyond to consider every learner's needs. I choose this. I mean, years ago, we've been looking at an image of how two students are standing over the wall to watch a gameplay and to illustrate equality and equity. This image is a newly designed one by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to kind of show the various types of barriers that can exist in a certain context. Next, I'd like to talk about like accessibility and the how. So how it's supported in our program. First of all, we offer a 3-credit course on accessibility as an elective if you're interested in getting more expertise in this area. But more importantly, we actively integrate practices that improve accessibility in other courses when students create learning materials or when they're doing projects. So you'll add closed captions and transcripts when you make videos, and students are asked to use color contrast analyzers when they create visuals. Even the simple use of Word documents, it's really better practice to use proper headings so that it's for easier navigation. So by incorporating these practices into multiple courses, you'll get familiar and more important, like comfortable with creating accessible content. Not every institution has the resources to afford a full-time accessibility specialist to remediate the instructional materials. So I would think it would be really a better future if all the content creators, including instructional designers, can create accessible content from the get-go. From the very beginning, the content is made accessible. So that's really like the ultimate goal here. To take the video as an example, so when I require students to add accurate closed captions, I mean really 100% accurate and very accurately timed. So, but at first, they might not really take my tip on creating detailed storyboard and record audio from script word by word. but they also learn about it the second or the third time. And after 1 or 2 of such assignments, not only the videos have accurate captions, because like the whole preparation is so much deliberate and like intense work. So the videos are made with higher quality too. So overall, so I mean, all these practices are to have students get habituated with making accessible learning content. And the next hot topic right now is AI. And first of all, I want to say like it still can be scary. I have students who are pretty scared about this, like the current stories about AI. But actually, AI has been researched and developed to support learning for more than a century. And some types of AI-powered education technologies, including teaching robots, social robots, and this is where I just mentioned about our graduate student, our current graduate students who's programming with social robots and just now adding ChatGPT to facilitate natural language conversation and also to support the education by the robot to patients. So that's a rather interesting study. And other examples include tutoring systems, automatic scoring. If you have used Canvas, Blackboard, and some other types of learning management systems, you might already have experience with automatic scoring and also now big data learning analytics. In terms of AI, it's still new and under fast development. So why so many scientists are attracted to AI? So many interests, right? So common kind of the potentials for AI is really to personalize support at scale. I mean, teachers can still provide personalized support for learning, but it's hard to do with limited resources and time. And also AI helps to redefine learning. Now, what is important and the value attached to learning would shift with AI. And the other thing that especially for those who's really care about the emotional aspects of learning is when some of students, when they're learning with an AI, with a robot, they're not afraid of failure. Because they are not afraid of being judged by a real person. So, and also the assessment, you can have personalized assessment too. However, all these topics are still under researched, so we don't have a perfect product yet. So don't be scared, AI is not going to take your job. And there are some common risks that I'd like to kind of bring up here so that we are cautious about it. First is like the biases. Now, there are just common biases in almost all the model, and because the model is based on big data and the data can never truly comprehensively reflect the diversity of real life. It's a limited set of data, however big it is. And oftentimes those data sets that supports the model does not really have cultural diversity and diversity in many aspects and dimensions. And also those models, even the ChatGPT, who's being, again, a big topic, they are not designed to support learning. So I think we need to make that clear. They are designed to generate natural sentences based on the corpus that they have. They're not here to optimize the learning. So it's really two different goals for what we're talking about learning and how the models are playing a role in the process. And also there is this motivational crisis because some younger students would say, now if AI can do so much more, then what am I learning about? Is it still going to be valuable in 10 or 20 years? It is, and so, but it's a risk there that we'd like to address, this motivational crisis. So with all the foundational knowledge and skills, and importantly, applying those foundational knowledge and skills to the adoption of emerging technologies and to solving instructional needs in various contexts. So all graduates really wear many hats in their roles, but they are really high performers in their roles. Next, my colleague will introduce some of our students' work.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Shah. So here you see Katie. She actually she did the capstone course, and she just this is one of her the beginning of her e-portfolio. So right here she has her final project. She had other projects that she had worked on throughout her master's degree. And again, this is just her opening page. And here you have Cece Cyriel. She actually did a actual project that helped out. It actually helped out our athletes here. So she was actually able to create a course. So she was considered the instructional designer for this course. So she created several modules that allowed the athletes to go through this program. So she dealt with drug awareness, she dealt with time management, different things that will come up for a student athlete. She actually did an online e-learning unit for them to be able to actually matriculate through. And they actually had to show that they matriculated through that program before they got in trouble with their coach. So it was very interesting for her to be able to build that out. And it was so basically our athletic program was her client. And then continuing on, just other examples of what it actually looks like. So you're actually going to have a design process. This particular student, they use ADDIE as a process that they actually went through, talked about motivation, and then the evaluation. So looking to see if the course really was worth it. So again, continuing with that, the student athletes. And then we have more. I won't go into it because we're going to be a little short of time, but these are those 7 modules that I was speaking to you earlier about. Okay, now it's time for us to be able to hear from you. It's not quite cold here in Kansas the way that I would like for it to be. Fall is my favorite season, but we know that fall is on the way. So we wanted to do a campfire chat with you guys. So we'll give you some prompts and have you guys think about different things that may come up as you're going through the different slides that we've shared thus far. So open up for questions, and then we'll have prompts in a moment if there are no questions. Anyone? You can unmute yourselves.
So I have one.
Sure, absolutely. Dean, talk to us.
So probably most kind of interesting, how can I say? The biggest kind of interest would be the job market.
Okay, yes.
So can you tell us more about, job perspectives, where they kind of could go? I know there's a lot of places, including military, corporation, and all other places. So please.
Yes. You want to jump in, Dr. Shah, and then I'll chime in after.
Yeah, sure. So now I don't have the exact numbers at hand, but I know it's about 5-6% increase in the job market, and also it's the average salary would be around 50,000 or 60,000 for a entry level work. And Dean John, you're right. Like, we have just so many places to go for instructional designers, and I will talk real examples instead of like the big data from the media. The real example is really the graduates that I got to know personally since I joined, meaning last fall, this spring, and some of the recent alumni that I got to talk with in some of in the interviews for my another project. So many of them now work in a higher ed context. as instructional designers or senior instructional designer or senior content creator. That's one of our alumni. Like it's already like after, I think she graduated 3 years ago, and now she's like the senior one and pretty advanced in her career. And another one is work in the military setting and specifically on the accessibility. And so now he's the evaluator to make sure like it's a big team and they are content creator over there, but he only serves as the evaluation process, or mainly that's his job, to evaluate, make sure that the content that created meet the requirements for in terms of like there's a set of regulations and requirements out there, like a checklist type of thing to go through. And also in the corporate settings. So corporate settings is more dynamic, and it's basically you work on multiple projects. It's not like streamlined as in other contexts. So what I'm saying here is like, yes, that's right. You got to work in various contexts, and I would really like, if that's the career goal, right? I would really encourage to start with internships. There are a lot of internships. Don't be afraid to start with the entry level, and usually people have a very fast growing curve in their career. And another recent graduate that I talked with, maybe in 2021, he's already senior on the team, and now he's really envisioned the whole technology landscape in the institute that he's working with. So a lot of places to go, and the job hunting approach would be similar to other people. Go to LinkedIn, go to Indeed, go to a lot of, and also be in part of the professional communities. And there are a lot of job postings there too.
Yes. So speaking specifically about IDT, I actually serve as a consultant in addition to my duties here. So in the summer months, I'll teach 6 weeks in Kansas, and then I'll go away to Michigan for 1 week. And in 1 week, I was able to bill my other college $6,800 for 1 week. So I was able to go and do some consulting work for them. So there is definitely money in IDT, not just in teaching, but also in the other, venues in which you can actually do it. This online learning is not going anywhere. If anything, is going to be increasing more and more with e-learning, being there. And teachers, they teach. They may not know about instructional design. So that field is going to be even more open and broadened for instructional designers to be able to get their feet wet. Kathy, you had your hand up.
Yes. Okay. So if I have MLS students that might be interested in IDT, but they aren't sure if they're interested, what would you suggest as like a first class, an introductory class that they might want to take and see if they're interested, which of course we would take as an elective, but is there a intro to IDT, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, well, we have our electives that we roll throughout the year and also in the summer months as well. But if they want to get their feet wet in the foundational course, IT 700, that definitely lays the foundation for what they will be learning as far as theory and things like that. But I always like to start with the fun stuff. That's just me as a learner. So I like to get in a summer course and just play with, the different tools or the different strategies behind using those tools. So I will say either way, either begin with an elective or begin with that IT 700 for sure. Dr. Shah, you would like to add anything?
Yeah. So 700 is also that I was thinking about. And also if there's students still not sure, like I'm more than happy just to have a Zoom chat, so that because I like chat to students and also to learn about like their own educational like interests and goals. So I might be able to, on a one-on-one meeting, I can just speak more to the students' interests and needs.
Yes.
And I might be able to then make recommendations better than 700. So like 700 would be the answer to everyone, but then depends on individual needs, right? There might be more like other interesting courses.
Right, absolutely. I agree with that for sure. Any other questions before we? No?
One thing before we move on though about the job of ID, so something that's really recent observation is many of the people that I talked with are now working remotely
Yes.
as ID, so that can be an attraction. And it's not like you can still go in if you prefer an in-person working environment, but I know many people I talked with really enjoy the better balance with a remote work. So
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely agree with that for sure. Okay, so here are some of the prompts that we have. Instructional designers need to be adaptable, flexible, and able to work with a variety of technologies. What do you guys think about that statement? Do you agree, disagree? You have questions? Is it piquing any interest? What are your thoughts? We want to hear from the students or potential students, should I say? Anyone? Don't all chime in at once.
Yeah.
Kathy, you look like you want to say something.
No, that just made me laugh.
Oh, it did. Okay, let's go to our next one. See, Dean, go ahead, Dean.
So a variety of technologies that remind me my kind of first impression, which was not so correct, I would say. So when I was in Milwaukee Library School, there was a very energetic faculty member from IDT side.
Okay.
And he almost every month, that would not be an exaggeration. Almost every month, he introduced a small gadget, new gadget, all the time, and then kind of pitching, oh, we should buy this, we should buy this. So, technologies and also products, there is a certain kind of reality check and also verification, the validation. So I don't know where that kind of perspective fits in this curriculum. So I believe you talked about that. I mean,
Yes.
toys are not necessarily effective tools for learning, that kind of thing. I'm
Yes.
just kind of,
Yeah, so I would like to address that. So we do deal with a variety of technologies, but I don't want students to be drawn just to the field because they consider themselves techie. There is a lot of theory. There's a lot of learning strategies, behind the scenes that should go along with technology. So I don't want students to just be drawn to, this is a techie field, I think I would work great with it. I want them to know the reasoning behind why they're using that particular tool. So again, it's just the technology should seamlessly work within an existing curriculum. Okay. Dr. Fox, you had your hand up? Oh, you're muted.
Okay. I think it's really important to stress the instructional design component, because if you have teachers who are going out into rural areas, or you have designers who are going to be working, for example, at a state level, they may be actually designing curriculum for schools that don't have technology.
Certainly.
So I think that's still a really important component of the IDT program, is that instructional design. So, for example, the state of South Dakota, where I came from, has full-time instructional designers that work out of the State Department of Education, because there are so many school districts in South Dakota that don't have technology because their religion doesn't allow them to have the technology. So we have Mennonites, we have Amish, and so you don't have that technology component to use. So I think it's important that they be able to do the technology, of course, but also that they don't forget about the instructional design component, which is huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay.
I
We
think
have
there-
about 5 minutes left before we end completely. So I want to go to another slide if I can. Oh, okay, not sure what happened. Applications of mixed reality and gamification will be more prevalent and impactful in education. What do you think about that statement? Agree, disagree, hate the idea of gamification? What is mixed reality? What are your thoughts? Potential students, what do you think? Is it Sephora? You look like you wanted to say something. You were smiling.
I guess my main thing that I think about when I think about this is the recent Apple event that happened with the Apple Vision. If any of you don't know about it, it's their recent virtual reality thing that has come out that's sort of like an Oculus, but is supposed to be extremely improved, and in which people will be able to essentially immerse themselves fully in virtual reality, but yet at the same time will be also in reality. To which I find funny enough that after this, my friends were like, how much of this is going to turn into a situation of like Wall-E, or situations in which like we'll all end up, not going anywhere or not going into an office.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so we have to have that balance. I hear exactly what you're saying. We want to make sure that the balance is actually there and we're not totally, technology driven, that we lose out on relationships, because relationships are very key, very important as we matriculate through school, as we, have our coworkers, our families, and things like that. So for sure, having that balance. Becca, I saw your hand up earlier.
So I had just noticed that there was a question in the chat from Susanna Greenwood, but I think Ja's already answered it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Remote work will be normalized for instructional designers to produce more e-learning opportunities. And we kind of touched on that already, where you're going to have, people. I remember telling people, this was when I first started fully online. This was in 2014. And I was telling people that I was going to teach online. And one of my church members, she said, "Oh, that means you get to stay in your pajamas." And I'm thinking, oh gosh, lady, if you think that's all, working from home is, or teaching online is, you really don't know what, it's all about. Because there's so much work that goes behind the scenes when it relates to what e-learning actually looks like. You want to make sure those learning objectives are in there. What are some of the learning activities that are in there, the assessments that are involved? So it's a lot that has to do with e-learning, as opposed to the convenience of it all. Because it is a convenience. I won't say that it's not convenient, but there's definitely theory behind it, strategies behind it, to be able to make those lessons pop and be alive for our students. We kind of talked about AI, so I'm going to skip over this one and then I'll go back. Sorry. Oh, I messed up. Hold on. Yeah, so this is kind of what we talked about before about the relationships that I mentioned before. So you never want to lose sight of that as we're talking about the different tech tools that are prevalent, you know, in our field. And then a solution. So we always want to look at a problem and then what is going to be a solution as opposed to just jumping into that tech tool first and foremost. So
Yeah.
with the capstone course, the students have to have some type of instructional problem and offer some type of instructional solution for that semester long project. Dr. Shah?
Yeah, I was just saying like this is really also speaks back to like the importance of instructional design
Yes.
without technology. So like the instructional solution is really a representation of like the application of instructional design with or without technology. And just to the earlier statement, I think to me, like the importance is really about the adaptability, the flexibility. So if you're working with a context that no technology is available, you will need to still be able to work out the best instructional solution to address the needs.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Especially speaking to what Becca was mentioning before about those rural areas who will have limited resources, you still need to offer a solution to them. Although it may not be high tech, you know, they could still have some type of solution being offered to them. So you have these virtual reality spaces. Okay, they may just be able to afford Google Cardboard, you know, glasses where they're just spending $5-6 as opposed to $300, you know, per headset. Okay, final thoughts before we actually wrap up. Anyone? Susan? Suzanne, I'm sorry. No one?
I think Suzanne said her mic wasn't working.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Dr. Shaw, closing thoughts? Anything?
I think we're all good, but of
We're all
course,
good. Dean,
yeah.
you have any parting thoughts? Dean Young?
No,
You
thank
know?
you so much.
Thank
This is
you.
very helpful.
Absolutely. So we welcome you. We welcome you to browse our certificate programs. We welcome you to look at the courses that are listed for our master's degree in IDT. If you're thinking about a PhD and would like to have IDT as your concentration, that's an option as well. So we just look forward to, at some point, seeing you on this journey, either taking an elective from us, being in our certificate program, getting an actual master's degree from IDT, or next steps if you already have a master's degree. Okay.
And if you have any questions, just feel free to route those questions to me. I'm really happy to work with students and advisors. So.
Absolutely. So Dr. Shah is ready and available to be able to connect with students. I'm also able to, you know, answer questions that you guys may have. Kathy, thank you for the thumbs up. This is our first time, so we're great to be able to see that it was effective. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a good one.